All right, good morning, gentlemen. Bob here, back breaking down some Bitcoin, getting right down to it. We'll just go ahead and take a peek at the weekly view here real quick and just start out there. Still red for the week, but as of right now, I mean, it has not put in a lower low, so that's, I guess we'll count that as a positive, but it also has not put in a higher high than last week, so as of right now, downtrend continues. Yesterday was interesting, and we'll kind of break that down here in a minute, but again, I still think that, logic to me says this thing needs to come down here, touch this line, and break off out of here. Or honestly, I wouldn't even be opposed at this point. Just, hey, come on down, test this, and just pop on out of here, right? Like, let's just get that final capitulative type move and just get this thing going. On the daily, I mean, it was, so yesterday, we talked about this little RSI trend line, and it I don't know if you remember, it started out the day just below the trend line. Well, it ended up coming back up above it. It stayed within that trend line. And as of right now, it is seeming like it wants to find its way off, although this candle is suddenly getting smaller as far as the redness of it. So we'll have to get in on the shorter term time frames and see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. The bulls just continue to defend this level. I don't know how many times it's touched down here. We'll take a look at that. But I mean, even on the daily, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 touches on it. And that's, I would say it's fairly atypical for a trend line to hold up that long, or for a support or resistance. I mean, not to say it won't, but it just typically, especially on larger scale time frames, you don't get that many tests on a line that still holds up. So be interesting to see as far as that part goes, where this all goes from here. It's still same concept. I mean, really, until we break out of this range, I mean, our range high is here, our range low is here. And then we've got kind of, a few wicks outside of our range, but otherwise, this is our range right here. This I could draw a little box in here and just say, hey, this is the highest it's going to go on any given day, or I could even draw it right here. Like, this is the highest it's going to go on any given day. This is the lowest it's going to go until something changes. So for right now, let's, here's our range. This is it until something changes. From an RSI standpoint, I mean, this thing, if it finds support here, we come up here, you still end up with a scenario where maybe you come up and touch this, and then, you probably get rejected there. Again, this little pattern right here, and, this trend line came from the bottom of this price action. We're not going to worry about that, but this trend line came from there, and it more or less is holding this price action down, or this, RSI action down right here, right? And this is kind of a rising wedge. Now, rising wedges are supposed to break down, but occasionally they break to the upside, and when they do, that move is parabolic. So, it just depends on if bullish sentiment is officially back or not, right? Like, that's going to be the biggest thing. And let's just go ahead. Oh, and actually, before we get too far out, so the S&P is implied open is down today slightly, and we could say that maybe Bitcoin is reacting accordingly to that. Let's bring the SPX in here just real briefly. I don't want to spend a great deal of time dealing with this, but let's see, just so we can kind of get in here on the action. So 39.24 is our open from the look of it. So right in this level, this little pattern here is rising. They break to the downside more often than not. So essentially, got rejected at the 200 simple on the 15-minute chart. And I'm only zooming in here so you can actually see what's going on. It's the stock market, since it's not open 24 hours, the charts are choppy, and it's just a lot easier to see if you can get in on the action here. So again, we're going to open basically here, which is at the bottom of this pattern. I would say, I mean, look, it's going to open right up basically onto the 21 on this 15-minute chart. So as long as the 21 holds support, then maybe we do actually make an upside push. Otherwise, this thing's going to break back down, and it's likely going to be somewhere in this range that it's going to to be expecting to find support again, which, right here. If, look, it's got to find support there. Otherwise, this thing, we've talked about these rounded bottoms before and how they tend to work out. If it rolls over here and doesn't hold, then this thing's coming out and it's going to end up down in this range. Probably somewhere, it's going to find its way over here. It should almost assuredly fall below this level. But maybe it, say it rolls, comes down, bounces here, bearish retest, roll over. Ideally, just the scenario is this thing comes over here, finds support once again, and then off we go here. So that's going to be the idea. And again, because of the fact that Bitcoin and the traditional markets are highly correlated right now, and I'm not sure how close it is to the Nasdaq or the Dow Jones or anything, but the SPX, I mean, it's it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. So, again, we'll see. I mean, gonna need that level to hold up. Again, long story short, need that level to hold up, or even better, this one, right? let's not even mess around down here anymore. Let's just say that this was all a trap. All right, bears, you're trapped, and now let's roast to the upside. But I don't, obviously, I don't think that's necessarily a given. An interesting note. Let's see. So one attempt here. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be our third attempt at trying to secure the support of the 21 simple on the 4-hour chart. So this one could have some teeth to it potentially, and actually I didn't show you guys the 4-hour chart yesterday, but this thing actually played out. So you remember probably I show you on the daily that we were right at overhead resistance. We did end up with a red day, but it didn't just get crushed here, which was a positive. The interesting thing is though, when you take that same trend line and you look at it on the 4-hour. Well, it broke it, retested, and then made a positive upside move there. Potentially you see that thing come up, put in another 4-hour candle. All of a sudden, we're back at overhead resistance. But when you apply that to the price action, that potentially puts us above the 21, and then looking for a potential retest there, and then another move to the up. So I mean, there's. I don't think I'm not going to sit here and act as though this is some, that there's immediate 20% gains in the SPX or anything. We obviously know that's not going to happen, but or in Bitcoin. But I mean, this, again, we just need a few things to go our way here. We're not asking for a ton, right? We're not asking for a ton. We just want some positive action here. It's been months of misery, watching red all the time. But let's get it on the short-term time frames real quick. I just want to show you a couple things. I guess we'll say from a TA standpoint. So this was basically yesterday. Oops, let's do that and do that. All right, so this is a lot of this was yesterday's action. Pretty well started out the morning. We got that downside move, bear trap, fired off to the upside, right? It's interesting because again this line here, this white line here, you'll see that that's a downtrend line coming back from where we had the nasty move from 40K and to where we got to here. And again, this trend line's held up, bullish fake out. Now though, as of this morning, right now, with 20 some seconds to go left in this hourly candle. Now, of course, it's back to just within that line, and that's surprise, I guess. So, I'll probably expect that this line. I mean, maybe it comes up and taps that again, but otherwise, this thing should come right back down. Ideally, it doesn't come down below here. Again, the big thing is you just want to start finding supportive levels that actually help push the price action up. Who knows? This 29.5, this one could work out, could come back down here. Hopefully this itself was a little bit of a bear trap, right? It essentially broke back down into where this prior small range was established, right? And then you had this top to it. Well, all of a sudden it kind of just tapped it. Maybe it just tapped it actually, and then didn't really break down out of it. But anyway, long story short, from a TA standpoint, so I'm looking at this yesterday, and I'm like, all right, well, we got a little bit of a rounding to it forming, so I could see that happening. And then all of a sudden, it just starts roasting to the upside here unexpectedly. I mean, I'm looking at this thing, and all right, well, it's going to roll back down and then start making some moves to the upside. But instead, it actually made a huge move, pull back down. Now it would make me think that if we do have a decent, parabola forming here, now all of a sudden the parabola is much wider than it was, when I was looking at it. I was thinking that this move here wouldn't have started until it got further this direction, but it actually starts right here. So now all of a sudden, now that maybe this next move can actually come all the way up to here, maybe back down, and then, go time maybe. And actually, I'm a little surprised this is breaking back out of here. All right, so yeah, long story. I'm gonna get to actually looking at this a little more closely. It's this was a positive move right here. I did not see that coming, and with all the moving averages all bunched up in garbage like this, it's tough to say if I actually think it's going to make a move up there. But if it does, let's take a look at how this little formation, pardon me, this little formation here, let's take a look at how that compares to the RSI. Well, here's this hourly RSI. Let's see, can I draw a line straight through here? I can, but then this is looking like a breakout of this downtrend here. So let's assume for 1 second this thing actually may very well come right back up to here, which I think would correspond pretty well with this move back to this blue horizontal line. Comes up there, puts in a retest at this level, which would give us a 200 simple retest, and then all of a sudden this little guy actually turned into its own little inverse head and shoulders, where this is the head. You basically got a shoulder. It's going to form another shoulder here. So then, potentially we do have a move back to this area here, if not actually going above it. And I could probably, given the fact that it did break out of this otherwise bearish pattern to the upside. I mean, granted that after it first broke to the downside like it should have, but it bear trapped, moved back up, broke out to the upside. Now I could probably almost make the argument that we could have an ascending broadening wedge forming. I mean, it wouldn't be a perfect pattern to look at, but as long as we can hold this lower trend line here, right? As long as we hold this one, then that means that next move very, very realistically could actually make it all the way up to here or here. Yeah, but again, really until, and I guess just getting back to the main point here, though, I'm sitting here and I say, hey, these things could happen. Here's what's happening so far. We're trading in a range. For the last 10 days, basically, we're trading between 28.8 and 30,003, 30,500. That's our trading range for now. Until it breaks down or breaks up, that's where we're at. So I guess I won't waste our time sitting here talking about the hypotheticals again. We know what they are at this point. And now the question becomes, is it going to make a move one way or the other? I'd love to see us get out of this range at some point. So, yeah, I mean, as of right now, just trade in a range, and we'll hope for the best here. We'll see what kind of comes out of this little pattern here. Again, I could draw another trend line here, so we kind of got a little bit of a falling wedge type of look. Let's put a trend line here. Yeah, like I said, this thing essentially is showing that it's kind of breaking out of there. Now, if it doesn't actually break out, like if it doesn't get a strong push to the upside, then it would be much more likely that it is forming something of a rounded bottom, which would make sense for the potential parabola concept that we've got going here as well. Which, and again, I could, then I'd go ahead and, there you go. So that kind of shows you how it kind of compares to the price action and the RSI together. Let's get out of the range. Let's start trending in one direction. At this point, I don't even care which direction it is, but let's actually trend. And that's where you're going to see us get back to to loading this thing up is once we can actually start establishing that a true trend is going. I mean, again, this stuff is not a trend, right? The only trend that this is a trend of a range. So, you know, and that's that stuff's not easy to trade. I mean, you can see here hourly chart. 3-4 hours upside, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down, 3 up, 2 down, 1 up, 2 down. So it's just all over the place. You don't want to. This is called chop, and this is the easiest way to chop up a portfolio is to try and establish, big trades within this type of garbage. So, again, we'll continue to be cautious. And everybody's out there taking a beating in the stock market. No point in adding insult to injury here and beat up your crypto holdings as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll be looking for a trend to start here. And my goodness, it would be nice if it would. So in either case, hey, let's look out for the SPX today again. Main thing I want to see here, I just want us to hold 38.50 or so on the SPX. If we can continue to do that, that rounded bottom looks good. And with any luck, that actually gets us it starts to push us back up towards weekly supports. Would love to see on Friday the SPX be up above 41.50, which is where I've basically got a weekly support and resistance. We can at least get back. Man, that would change things a lot. I believe, and I think at the end of the day, that would correspond more than likely with a Bitcoin move to this level right here. From a weekly standpoint, because these blue ones are what I've got as weekly support and resistance. So, if SPX can do that, I'd expect that Bitcoin would do something in that fashion, pushing up to that level, or at least again get back to 31.3. Because right now, I don't know if I can say that somebody's really winning, but if you want to say that the Bears are winning, I suppose that's a fairly reasonable assessment because they're the ones that are forcing lower highs. You see, you got a high here. This one went higher, but every other high since has been lower than this guy. The Bulls haven't given up this level, but again, they're not. Other than the fact that we had a little bit of an established uptrend here. Other than that, we're still failing to put in higher lows otherwise, right? Like we still continue to come back down and touch this line. So hopefully it doesn't break down, but if it does, then that's when we're going to make our move down into this level or, 24, 25, something like that. And then let's get this thing trending in the other direction. Not much else to say, really. What else is there to say in this regard? We've got an established trend or an established trading range that just continues to act as a range. It's on the top side it's getting stuffed. On the downside it's getting picked up. We've got. I will say one thing on a positive note: the dollar index is actually 2 weeks in a row now. It's actually red. So at some point this is going to be positive for for equities. And I suppose to an extent there's already some signs. I mean, it hasn't capitulated again yet, so that's a positive. But yeah, the whole picture, right? The whole picture, tying everything together. But I hope you guys do enjoy the content. I won't sit here and beat a dead horse again. Bottom, top for now until we get some move one direction or the other. That might come with some help from the dollar index. Might come with some help. Something's gonna come from the market that's gonna help us to make an ultimate decision as to where the trend is about to go. Let's just get there already, damn it. And we appreciate you guys. Glad we can help not lose all your money. And we'll get back to making a bunch of money for you guys when the market is right. Catch up with you soon. Have a great day out there.